You thought the hardest part of a family conflict was the fight itself. But what if the hardest part was actually trying to be the bigger person, and having that mercy thrown back in your face like it meant nothing? That moment, that specific moment when you reached out, when you chose peace over pride, when you swallowed everything you felt and extended your hand, only for the person on the other side to use your vulnerability as ammunition. That is the wound that does not just heal on its own. That is the wound that festers quietly for years. And if you are watching this right now, there is a strong chance you have lived inside that exact moment. Not once, multiple times, with the same people, the same family members who are supposed to be your safe place. I want to talk about something that almost nobody in the personal development space talks about honestly. The failure of mercy inside a family conflict. What happens when you do everything right, when you extend grace, when you forgive before you even feel ready to forgive, and the result is not healing. The result is more pain. Because here is what the self-help world tells you. Forgive, be the bigger person, let it go, choose peace. And that advice is not wrong, but it is dangerously incomplete. And the incompleteness of that advice has left millions of people more broken than before they tried to heal. You tried to be the bigger person, and they took your mercy as a sign of weakness. You tried to extend an olive branch, and they snapped it in half in front of you. You tried to create a moment of genuine connection, and they turned it into an argument about something that happened 15 years ago. Now you are sitting with something very complicated. Because on one side you have all the guilt about whether you should have done more, whether you should have tried harder, whether you should have been more patient, and on the other side you have rage, quiet, buried, slowly consuming rage because you gave so much and received so little in return. This is the family feud that nobody warns you about. Not the loud explosive conflict. The slow, suffocating one where you keep trying and keep getting hurt and nobody outside of it believes how bad it really is because from the outside the family looks functional. Before I go any further, there is a program linked in the description below this video that was built specifically for situations exactly like this one. Not generic relationship advice, not surface-level tips about communication. A structured path designed for people who have already tried the conventional approaches and found themselves right back in the same painful cycle. I am not going to pressure you into anything. In fact, if you genuinely believe you have already figured this out on your own, this probably is not for you anyway. But if something in what you just heard made your chest tighten even slightly, keep watching and then check the description when this video ends. Now let me go deeper, because you deserve the full picture. There is something that happens neurologically when you extend mercy and it is rejected. Your brain does not just file it under disappointing. Your brain registers it as a threat, because the act of being vulnerable, of opening yourself up, of saying I want peace more than I want to be right, that is one of the most exposed positions a human being can place themselves in. And when that exposure is met with dismissal, with cruelty, with weaponization, your nervous system learns a devastating lesson. Safety is not available here. And worse, trying to heal makes things more dangerous. That lesson gets wired in, and it changes everything about how you move through the world. Not just with that family member, with everyone. You start to become someone who holds back, who keeps exits mentally mapped in every relationship, who cannot fully trust even the people who have done nothing wrong, because your system is now running protective software that was written during that moment when your mercy failed. People who have been through this describe it in ways that are almost identical across completely different family situations. They say things like, I became a different person after that. They say things like, I stopped believing that trying was worth it. They say things like, I grieve the family I thought I had every single day. That grief is real. It is not self-pity. It is not weakness. It is the natural response to losing something you never technically had, which is one of the cruelest kinds of loss there is. You cannot mourn what was because what was never truly existed. You are mourning the potential, the imagined future, the family dinners that felt warm instead of tense. The phone calls that ended in genuine laughter instead of passive aggression. The moments of real support during the hardest seasons of your life. And here is what makes this even more painful. You kept giving them chances. Study after study in interpersonal psychology confirms that people who experience early attachment disruptions within family systems are significantly more likely to return repeatedly to those painful relationships in search of the repair that never comes. You are not weak for going back. You are wired to go back. The very people who hurt you were also the people your nervous system identified as the source of potential safety. That is the cruelest trap in human psychology. But something has to break the cycle. Because here is the cost of staying in it. Research on chronic family conflict and unresolved relational trauma shows that the physiological toll is measurable. Elevated cortisol levels, disrupted sleep architecture, compromised immune function. The people who study this for a living are telling us that unresolved family wounds do not stay in the emotional realm. They move into the physical body and they age you from the inside. Beyond the physical, think about what this has already cost you in time. How many hours have you spent mentally rehearsing conversations that never went the way you planned? How many family events have you attended already grieving before you walk through the door? How many times have you driven home afterward in silence processing something you cannot even fully explain to the people closest to you? Time is the one thing you cannot recover, and a significant portion of yours has been spent managing the fallout from a conflict that was never yours to carry alone. There is also the relational cost to the people who are not even part of the conflict. Partners who watch you become distant after family interactions. Friends who notice that you are somewhere else, even when you are sitting right in front of them. Children, if you have them, who feel the atmospheric shift in the home after certain phone calls or visits. The ripple effect of unresolved family pain reaches everything and everyone you love. Now here is where the story starts to shift. Because everything I have described so far is the cost of inaction, the cost of repeating the cycle, the cost of continuing to try the same approaches expecting different results. But what happens when people actually break through this? The transformation is not what most people expect. It is not dramatic reconciliation scenes. It is not tearful apologies and healed relationships in the span of a few months. That happens for some people. But for many others, the transformation is something quieter and in many ways more powerful. It is the reclamation of self. People who work through family conflict at a foundational level, not the surface communication tips but the actual deep structural work, they report something that almost sounds too simple to be true. They say that they stopped needing the other person to change in order to feel okay. They stopped waiting for the apology, stopped waiting for the acknowledgement, stopped waiting for the family member to finally see what they had done. And in that stopping and that letting go of the weight, they found something they had been missing for years. Themselves. One person described it like this: I spent so long trying to get them to understand me that I forgot to understand myself. When I finally stopped trying to convince them and started working on my own healing, I got back years of my life in the span of months. Months. Not decades. Not another generation of this same inherited pain being passed down and reshaped and re-experienced by people you love. Months. The work is not easy. I want to be completely honest with you about that. There will be sessions of this process that feel like they are pulling something out of you that had been buried for a very long time. There will be moments where the anger surfaces at full intensity, and you will have to sit inside it instead of suppressing it the way you always have. There will be grief, real grief, for what was lost, for the time spent, for the version of yourself that went into those family interactions with hope and came out smaller every single time. But here is what sits on the other side of that work: the ability to walk into any room, including the rooms with the people who hurt you most, and feel genuinely grounded, not performing groundedness, not white-knuckling your way through the conversation, actually grounded. Because the thing they used to have power over no longer lives in the same exposed place inside you. You moved it, you restructured it, and you finally understand, at a cellular level, not just an intellectual one, that their inability to receive your mercy said everything about them and nothing about your worth. That shift, that specific shift in how you carry yourself, it changes your career, it changes your closest relationships, it changes your parenting if you are a parent. It changes how you handle conflict in every area of your life because the skills you develop doing this deep work transfer everywhere. The return on investing in this process is not confined to the family situation. It spreads. And the people who delay it, who keep thinking they will get to it eventually, who keep hoping the family dynamic will naturally resolve, consistently say the same thing when they finally commit. I wish I had done this sooner. I lost years I did not have to lose. The program in the description is built for exactly the journey I just described. Not for people who are casually curious about improving family communication, for people who are ready to stop carrying what was never theirs to carry. Every single day you wait is another day the wound does not heal on its own, because wounds this deep never do without the right intervention. If you are serious about finally breaking this cycle, go to the description right now and take the first step. The version of you that feels grounded, free, and genuinely at peace is not a fantasy. That version is the destination. And the path starts in the description below.